All right. What is up, everybody? How is everybody doing tonight? I hope you're doing good. It is Thursday night. That's right. 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, which means I am Boxman. This is Hollywood Hangout. And thank you. Appreciate you guys joining me. I got a really, I guess you could call this one obscure. I got a couple of these I want to do. Um, this is a really good movie. It's got shades of Tarantino. It's you're gonna see little things that or if you watch it, you'll see little things that remind you a little bit of Reservoir Dogs. You'll see some things that remind you a little bit of Pulp Fiction. Um, you'll see some things that remind you of a few different movies out there, and we'll talk about a few of those as the parts come up in the movie. But this is a really, really great short little movie. By short, it's like an hour and 34. Let me see. Yeah, 134 exactly. Hour and 34-minute movie. Not shot all over the place. It's a definitely a low budget film. Um, but I love this one. It's got John Travolta in it, and the movie I'm talking tonight is Criminal Activities. That's right, Criminal Activities. This is a really, really fun movie. A few things I like about it, and then we'll start getting into it. I am gonna hit the actors in this one first. Um, Most of this movie takes place in one area with four guys in it. So I'm gonna introduce the actors, then we'll get briefly into the movie. I'm not gonna go completely scene by scene, and a few things I do maybe a little out of order to the actual movie. That's because this movie flips back and forth, which is one thing I really like. We get the flipping. The other thing I really like about this movie is you don't really get the twist until the very end of the movie. It's not one of those movies where we see the twist and then the whole movie we have to kind of pretend that we don't know what's going on. It's not that type of movie. It strings you on as well. And then it gives you the twist at the end, which the first time I watched this movie, I was like, how did I not fucking see this movie? It is awesome. But I mean, it's a 2015 movie, but this is really a great, great movie to just sit back and watch. I mean, just let this movie take you where it's supposed to take you. But and that's what this movie really, really does. It is a good, easy, slow, no, I mean, fast-paced, slow burn movie. And like I said, I love the fact that you're not sitting there having to pretend you don't know what's happening, and you don't. Some people may figure it out, but I lose myself in movies, so I didn't try to figure out what was happening. Um, but this is definitely a great movie. Now, again, I'm going to start with the actors really quick. Not going to do a whole crazy bio on every actor. Get into a little bit of maybe back life and then right into what they're known for, and we'll move on. That's really all I want to do. But definitely a few of these actors I want to talk about. I've got a little interview with a couple of the actors in the movie I'm going to play, and we're gonna get this done. I don't see this taking very long. This could be a shorter show, but I know you guys don't mind that. Um, but yeah, so let me get this pulled up real quick. So let's get into it. What do you say? Let's start out by talking about the actors in the movie Criminal Activities. Now, we're going to start out with Dan Stevens. Dan Stevens plays Noah in this movie. He plays this sort of wussy character, almost a character that never kind of evolved from high school is kind of the character he's playing in this movie. Still kind of a shy kid, doesn't really fit in, a little awkward. I know exactly how he feels. I was always kind of the awkward kid, turned into the awkward adult, as you guys know. Um, but he kind of instigates the plan along with one other character, which we'll get into. But Noah is a really good character in this movie, especially when it comes to the end. He's part of the flip. Now, Dan Stevens, actually a British actor, grew up in London, over in Croydon, London, then was adopted at birth by two teachers, grew up in southwest England in Wales. Bit of a rebel in his youth, but landed a role in the school production of Macbeth and caught the bug. Just kind of went on from there and started doing a lot of things, like a lot of things after Macbeth. Um, did Downtown Abbey from 2010 to 2012, kind of his breakout role. The Guest in 2014, Beauty and the Beast 2017, he was the Beast. Legion, the TV show, he was David Haller, the mutant diagnosed with schizophrenia. But beyond movies, he does a lot more. He actually lends his voice out to audiobooks. He has narrated over 30 audiobooks in his time, and and he's supposedly still doing a lot more from what I had seen. So over 30 audiobooks he's narrated: Frankenstein, Casino Royale, things like that. So great actor, and this was kind of his indie run, because this is kind of known as an indie movie. So that's Dan Stevens right there. Let's go to Zach, Michael Pitt. Zach in this movie is a douchebag. I, I'm sorry, but look at him. This is him from the movie. He looks like the douchebag and absolutely plays a douchebag very well. Um, this whole movie revolves around not only what I'm going to get into with the kidnapping, but the whole movie. This guy thinks his fiance is cheating on him. Okay, so while all this shit is happening, you also have one of the subplots of this movie of he has hired a private investigator to watch his fiance. Now, Michael is not just an actor, he's a musician. He actually has a rock band, a grunge indie rock band called Pagoda. Grew up in New Jersey, another one that had a pretty hard life. Young, dropped out of school, high school at 16, moved to New York with no money, no connections, was a bike messenger. It's got to be crazy to be a fucking bike messenger in New York. And then just landed a reoccurring role as Henry Parker on Dawson's Creek. And that's kind of what just got him into acting. From there, he did Hedwig and the Angry Inch, The Dreamers, Last Days, Funny Games, Bully, Boardwalk Empire. He was Jimmy Darmody and Hannibal, 2014, the TV show. So he's been in a few things. He's definitely kept his career going. But he plays a real asshole in this movie. Real asshole. Like the kind of guy you're just like, my God, you want to hit him. You want to hit him. He plays the high school bully. And there's a reason I said that. We'll get to that a little bit later, too. So there is Zach in the movie right there, played by Michael Pitt. We'll get it. We'll talk more about Zach as we go through the movie. Then we go and we've got Warren, another one of the high school friends, played by Christopher Abbott. Um, Warren is a recovering alcoholic. He is about a month sober, and that gets brought up a few times during the movie that he's sober. It gets brought up a lot during the movie, and just kind of a hothead. Tries to keep everybody cool when he needs to, but loses his temper just as quick as anybody else in this movie. But Christopher Abbott, Connecticut boy, kind of just raised in one of those working class neighborhoods, didn't really want to be an actor, but started studying acting late, a little bit later, and then made his debut in Marcy May Marlene. That was a TV show. That was a little TV show he did. He was also in Girls. He was Charlie Dadalow, Catch 22, The Sinner. But he has done a lot of indie films also. James White, 2015, Poor Things 2023, Wolfman 2025, which I haven't seen, but I do have. But besides just indie films, he really prefers doing stage work off Broadway. Actually did one with called The House of Blue Leaves in 2011, which was with Aubrey Plaza. So, and even in 2023, he was doing stuff. And even in 2026, he's doing a Broadway show of Death of a Salesman, which actually earned a Tony Award. Not him, the play. But he's still doing acting as of today, and really, really good character in this movie. And he makes one of the most pivotal kind of moments in this movie to start the kind of story arc of the twist of this movie. Okay, so now we're going to get into, let's get this off the screen, if you don't mind, and move over to Rob Brown. Now, Rob Brown is Bryce in this movie. He's another one of the friends. We find out a lot more about Bryce in the end of the movie. I'm not going to ruin it for you, but Bryce is one of the guys involved in this. And again, Bryce is played by Rob Brown. Brooklyn guy, raised in New York, Harlem, actually. Kind of a weird story how he got discovered. In 2000, he was 16 years old and a student, no formal acting, no nothing. Went to an open call to get cast as an extra, a background extra. That was his goal. He was trying to pay off his $300 cell phone bill. It's all he was looking for. Well, one of the directors saw that he was talented, and he got his first role in Finding Forrester with Sean Connery. That was it. He went in for literally just to get an extra role and ended up working with Sean Connery. That's a pretty fucking cool story. Holy shit, I wish I had a story like that. But he is Finding Forrester, he did in 2000. Well, it came out in 2000, but he did it in 1999. Coach Carter in 2005. The Express, the Ernie Davis story. Dark Knight Rises. He was one of the detectives. He was Detective Crispus Allen. He was in a show called Treem, and he was in a TV show called Blind Spot, where he was one of the main cast members for 5 seasons. It's a that's a really good show. I liked that show when it was on. I don't know if anybody remembers that show. It had the girl that was found naked in a duffel bag in the middle of, I think it was Times Square, somewhere in New York City, I believe. That's what the show was, and it was a really good show. I watched it. I have it. I've watched it more than once. So that's Rob Brown. Now we only have 3 more left, and one of them, I don't need to say much about this next guy. John Travolta is in this movie. Now, I wouldn't call him the main character, but I wouldn't call him a background character. Now, this was the start of the bad hairpiece for Travolta. It was. It really was the start of the bad hairpieces for Travolta. So you see that. Now, everyone knows Travolta, Grease, Welcome Back, Kotter, Saturday Night Fever. Whoa, where did that come from? I don't know what just happened here. Give me a sec. I didn't notice that was up on the. I didn't notice that little published was up there. Uh, Get Shorty. Now, Get Shorty, we need to remember because some of the character of John Travolta in this movie kind of goes back to that Chili Palmer character. And you definitely see it when he's doing this. Now, he did a little bit of directorial work this year. He did his directorial debut with Propeller, One Way Night Coach, and that film premiered at Cannes Film Festival. So there you go. He got an honorary Palme d'Or. Not even sure what that is. But Travolta is in this movie. As you can see, beside him is Jackie Earle Haley, which I will be talking about him in just a minute. But I don't really need to say much about Travolta. This is not the first Travolta movie I've done. Let's see. Me and Anthony reviewed Primary Colors during election time a few years ago. I think that might have been back in 2016. I think it might have been almost 10 years ago. And I did Urban Cowboy with John Travolta. So I don't really need to get into what a badass John Travolta is in the movie business, or the fact that he's even in this movie is badass. So we'll get to Jackie Earle Haley in just a minute, because first I want to talk about Eddie Gathegi. Okay. If you're watching on YouTube, this guy may look familiar. He was in X-Men First Class as Darwin or Armando. Wasn't in there very long, but he was in there. Born in Kenya, moved to the U.S. with his family. He's played basketball because he was a tall guy, but ended up catching the bug to do movies. Ended up doing some film cameos. He was a cabbie in the movie Crank, the Jason Statham movie, the first one. Then a few years later, he started getting some television roles, and then started getting into a few movies, like the Twilight Saga. He was the dreadlocked Laurent in the Twilight Saga. So he was in that. House, he was Dr. Jeffrey Cole. Gone Baby Gone, he played Cheese. James Gunn's Superman, he was Mr. Terrific. Definitely have seen this guy. And what a great actor, especially in this movie. He played such a calm, Now he plays a hostage throughout, I'd say 80 to 90% of this movie. He played such a calm, cool, calculated hostage. It was amazing. And we'll start talking about that in just a few minutes. I've only got one man left to talk about, and it is Jackie Earle Haley is in this movie. Oh, I'm sorry. I did forget to tell you guys a couple of things. Travolta is known as Eddie Lovato in this movie. He is the kind of mob boss character. Again, we'll get into all that. Eddie plays a character named Marquise, and we'll talk a little more about him. Now, Jackie Earle Haley plays Jerry. He is sort of, I wouldn't say the muscle, but he's the enforcer for Eddie Lovato or John Travolta. Now, I have seen Jackie Earle Haley since I was a kid because I was a huge fan of the movie The Bad News Bears, the original one, not the Billy Bob Thornton one. I was a huge fan of The Bad News Bears. And he played Kelly Leak in The Bad News Bears. If you ever saw The Bad News Bears, he was the badass kid. That was him. So I've been a fan of Jackie Earle Haley a long time. Now, he's done a ton more since the 70s. Matter of fact, this guy was Rorschach in Watchmen 2009. You guys have seen him there. Since then, you've seen him in movies like Shutter Island, Steven Spielberg's Lincoln. He was Alexander Stevens, the Confederate vice president. And he was in Alita, Battle Angel, great sci-fi movie. It's kind of half CGI, half live action. If you've never seen Alita, that's a good movie. Might need to talk about that one night. That might be one to talk about. But Jackie Earle Haley has been around a long time. Like I said, since 1976, born in 1961. But anything he does is pretty amazing. And I will say he is not just an actor in this movie. This is his directorial debut. Is this movie right here. Now, before I move on to all that stuff, I'd like to play a quick interview. It's a little minute and something interview. It's like a minute and 50, I think. And it's John Travolta and Jackie Earle Haley talking a little bit about all the actors, really, Eddie and a few other of the actors, but they say some very, very, very thoughtful things about Eddie here, who plays Marquise. So I'm going to go ahead and get that pulled up, if you don't mind. We'll get that pulled up. And this is the only video I have for you guys tonight. So let's do this. Okay. Here we go. It'll take a second. Okay. And we'll
okay. I just made my first decision.
What's that?
When I get out of here, you the first one I'm gonna shoot.
A guy that does an incredible job in this movie is Eddie Gathegi. He's the guy that gets kidnapped and he's taped to a chair, and that's a really hard thing to be taped to a chair through the whole movie. He probably has more dialogue than anybody, and he came to the set with, he could do any scene. One day I said, man, we're running ahead of schedule. Can we do something from next week? And he goes, oh yeah, I can do any scene you want. It's incredible.
That's a pro, man.
But yeah.
Really I had a scene with the 4 primary actors in this, and I'm telling you, it was a joy because their reality was so empirical that it was so easy to act with them. And they're funny as hell. I mean, these guys have such an innate sense of humor about their characters. I just thought, you know what? This is a moment that I'm going to really cherish in my memories of acting because it was so simpatico. You could play ball with these guys, and it was effortless.
There you go. So again, just talking a little bit about Eddie Gathigi, who plays Marquise, and the other guys, Michael Pitt, Dan Stevens, Christopher Abbott, and Rob Brown. So just kind of saying they were all great. And yeah, good stuff there. I just thought I'd play that quick little interview. It's the one thing I could play that didn't have a goddamn music behind it. This movie is like there's music behind almost everything, which is a smart thing to do. Okay, let's go ahead and get into this movie here. Now, this movie actually reunites Rob Brown and Michael Pitt, Zach and Bryce. They were both in Finding Forrester, actually, the where Rob Brown got his start. Now, you heard me mention the X-Men, a little bit of the MCU. Dan Stevens, Eddie Gathegi, Jackie Earle Haley, and John Travolta have all played comic book characters in movies or on TV, really. Stevens on Legion, Gathegi on X-Men, as we said, Haley in Watchmen, as we said, and Travolta was in The Punisher. So just a little tie-in with all these guys right here. Now, this movie Criminal Activities is actually a 40-year-old script. This movie was really written back in the 70s. It sat on a shelf in Hollywood for nearly 40 years until Jackie Earle Haley found this movie. Now, it doesn't say how he found it, but he found it. He took it, he rewrote the dialogue, modernized it for the 2015 audience a little bit. And Dirk said Eddie was on the blacklist. Yeah, he was. You're right. He was on the blacklist. You're right. He was. So he updated the dialogue for the 2015 audience, and he actually chose not to take a screenplay credit for the writing. Who knows why? But again, I said earlier, he's not just an actor, he's the director for this movie. But I mean, this guy has been in like so many other things. Like he was even Freddy Krueger in the Nightmare on Elm Street remake that came out in 2010. Now, this movie was really set to all be set against the backdrop of Detroit, Michigan. But because of logistics and other things, they decided it was better at last minute to shoot it in Cleveland, Ohio. And they did this over a 1-month window from May 27th to June 26th. Now, that might explain why some things are left out of this movie. Okay. And we'll get into that a little bit as we're talking. So let's go ahead and get right into the movie. This movie kicks off, and you see they're all at a funeral. Okay. They're at a funeral. We find out the funeral is for their friend Matthew. Now, Matthew is actually played by Jackie Earle Haley's son, Chris Earle Haley. So just to throw that out there, he's not in the movie very long, but yeah. Yes, Dirk, it's in Cleveland. So you see him in the funeral, and it kind of flashes back and forth. You see this like high school scene taped on a VHS, like a video recorder. And that gets explained later in the movie also. So as we're going through this, they're in the funeral, and you see all the friends are showing up from high school, and they're trying to find a place to meet after the funeral. So they decided to meet at this place called McCarthy's. So they all go, and they're there, and they're talking. We find out a little bit about what these guys have been doing. We find out that Jesus Christ, I just blanked on their name. We find out Christopher Abbott's character, again, sober. So he's doing that. And basically, one of them said they're going to leave. They're all finding out about, talking. And Noah, Dan Stevens' character, pulls out a joint and he's like, "How about a little 420, guys?" And they go in the car and they smoke a joint. Now, while they're in the car smoking a joint, Bryce, Rob Brown's character, brings up a company called Bedexco. Now, he says, his friend does work on the weekend, but instead of taking a paycheck, he gets stock options. And you've got Zach over there, who's a stock guy. And he's like, "Well, it's probably not worth nothing." And Bryce goes, "Well, maybe not, but he heard someone talking about how they're going to take the company public." So Zach was like, "Oh shit, that could be worth, sky's the limit. There's no, that could be worth millions, billions." So Bryce and Noah kind of set the hook by Noah going, "I can get the money because no one else can get the money." So Noah gets the money and they get hooked up. Okay. You fast forward 1 month later and they're watching TV, and the pharmaceutical company not only folded, but the CEO of the company ends up going to prison. They've got him locked. Well, they're not prison yet. They arrest him. So their fucking money is worth nothing. And they realize what happens now. Zach is trying to get the stock sold because he put a lot of his clients into this. Doesn't get it done. So he starts to leave. He's panicking. He's making phone calls. And he is abducted. There's a lot of kidnapping in this movie. He is thrown into a trunk by Jackie Earle Haley, and his partner, Little Mike, played by Christopher J. Gresham. So he doesn't know why he's being taken because none of them know where Noah got this money. This is where Jackie Earle Haley tells him, "You're meeting my boss tomorrow at 3:00. Now, the place where they're meeting is called the Royale. I wonder if this was a little reference to Pulp Fiction, the Royale with cheese. He's talking to Jules. The restaurant, though, is called the Royale, the hotel they're meeting at. And this is where we finally meet Eddie Lovato, played by John Travolta. And he comes in smooth as fuck again. This is where you kind of get the Chili Palmer, the 1995 Get Shorty movie. You get Chili Palmer, that character, the sleek suits, health conscious, talking about wheatgrass and kale shakes, very talkative, philosophical, very, very, very Chili Palmer. And we meet Eddie, and he's talking, and he gives them an out. Here's the out. You guys can die since you now owe me 400,000 because double what you borrowed from me. Because, as he says, you forget about the cost of money. So we go from there, and this is the out they're given. They could die, or they could kidnap this Marquise guy who he plays up as this horrible piece of shit that no one should care about anyway. So after a little bit of reluctance, they decide that that's what they're going to do. They have no choice. Literally, as Eddie Lovato says to him, "You guys are talking like you have a choice. You don't. This is it. It's this or you're fucking dead." Oh, good part in there where Bryce, Roy Brown's character asks him, "Well, why don't you just have them do this?" And he's pointing to his hitmen, and he's like, "Well, one, they're going to be busy doing something else, which is none of your business, and two, they don't owe me $400,000." It's like, well, pretty fucking self-explanatory at this point. I get it. So this is where the movie does something a little different. Usually, when you get a movie like this that you're about to get a kidnapping, usually you're going to get the buildup to how the kidnapping's about to take place. This movie doesn't do that. It skips forward a week. If Cheeseman took it out more often, he'd have less kids. Very good, True North. Very good. Keep it going. So they skip all that. They just go right to them kidnapping this guy. No montage, no bullshit like that. They just kept this fast-paced movie fast-paced. I like that about this movie. This part was very Suicide Kings. There's another movie I reviewed a while back. It was very Suicide Kings. You had the kind of amateur guys trying to do this, take this guy hostage, and nothing is going well. They jump him in the bathroom. Nothing is going well. Zach ends up hitting him in the head once he gets behind him with a toilet lid, the back part lid, the hard part. And as they're leaving, finally get him in the van. They get him in the trunk of a car, and they realize they're being chased by a van. They don't know who it is. This is the one little tidbit we know is that Marquise is working for the FBI, and he is wired, and that is who is chasing them. The FBI. They don't know who it is. They think it's one of the rival gangs or something. So Marquise wakes up finally, and he's tied to a chair. As I said, we get most of the acting from Eddie or Marquise in a chair. He is tied to a chair throughout most of this movie. So they lock him in the building. And it's a really kind of a cool thing because as they've got him locked in the building, one of the first things he starts talking about is that he is the nephew of Demetrius Fleming. Now, they don't really know who that is, but they find out that he is part of the Black Crime Syndicate, basically, is exactly what they call it. So we're going to get a little more into that. Now, Eddie's tied to a chair, as I said. But I love how he starts fucking with these guys' head right off the bat. He starts getting into these guys' heads almost immediately. As I said, he reveals who his uncle is. And he delivers the line so confident. And then when those guys don't know who he is, they're like, oh, you guys are fucking dead. You don't even know it. But he explains who his uncle is, and his uncle is not someone you fucking cross. And that by kidnapping him, they've signed their own fucking death warrants. This does make a few of the guys panic. Noah even has a line that says, we have Snoop Dogg's cousin tied up in here. A pretty funny line. But they realize they're not just dealing with some low-level drug dealer. They're dealing with family to Demetrius Fleming's. They Google him, as Marquise tells them to do. Says, fucking Google him. And they do. And that's when it does not get good. But as I said, he starts weaponizing a bunch of these guys' anger towards him. He starts out with Noah, is when he starts messing with everybody. First thing that happens is they need to go out and get food. Noah goes and gets food. He comes back, and they won't untie his hands, so Noah has to feed him. This is also the scene where we find out that Noah was in the military. So find out a little bit about what happened there. Then he goes from Noah a little bit to Warren. He starts messing with Warren a little bit, recovering alcoholic, insecure, knows he's hot-headed, so kind of taps into that a little bit. Then, before he gets to Zach, and I'm going to get back to Zach in a minute, we've got another subplot here. And that subplot is Jerry and Little Mike, as we talked about, looking for a character named Tyrone. Okay, so as this is breaking down with the four amateurs in the, warehouse, we've got Jerry and Little Mike, the two pros, out there trying to find Tyrone. Now, the whole movie, you're not really sure why they're trying to find Tyrone, but you do later find out why. Now, this is a great little scene in the movie, and I'm going to just take a moment to tell you this scene a little bit. As they're looking for this character, Tyrone, the uncle also put out a bounty for anyone that finds his nephew. Now, he gets on the phone, and we assume that he's getting a call that his nephew has been kidnapped due to some business or something. We find out later that is not the call he got. The call he got was telling him that his nephew was working for the FBI and they have proof. So, but we don't know that yet. So he makes it clear to the network that's what they need to do. Find my nephew, find Marquise. So that's a great scene. And then we go to, as they're trying to find Marquise, they find a guy. Jerry and Little Mike are called over there, and they walk into this room, and there's two guys, three guys, and a girl giving one of the guys a blowjob. She somehow leaves. We don't ever see it. So they've got another guy tied up in the corner. They're torturing. And Jerry tells a great story here. Jackie Earle Haley starts telling a story about this scar on his left ear. It'd be the left ear. And he starts telling this story. This is very Tarantino-esque. This has true romance. This has Reservoir Dogs written all over it. Just all over. This is almost like the tipping scene from Mr. Pink. So, starts telling the story about how he got a scar on his left ear. And telling the story about how his brother was a low-level drug dealer who sold basically beat drugs, cut way too much with baby laxative, I think he said. And he's telling this story, and he's a guy broke into his apartment because his brother sold him shitty drugs. The guy is screaming at him while downstairs, this guy, Isaac, young kid, came home early, opens the door, and some stranger is banging his mom. Well, as things are going really shitty upstairs, downstairs, Isaac grabs a shotgun. Well, he's running after the guy that is doing his mom. As he's running after the guy upstairs is cutting off the ear of Jerry. Isaac falls, and as the character Jerry says, by nothing short of divine intervention, he ends up shooting the guy that was upstairs cutting off his ear. The stranger ran out of the house. They became instant friends. Now, as he finishes telling the story, he just picks up this little like 22 caliber and pops both of these guys. Little Mike has to take care of one of them. Mike just looks at him and he's like, "What the fuck are you doing? Why did we do that?" Jackie Earle Haley looks up at him, points to the guy being tortured, and goes, "Oh, say hi to Isaac." Turns out that was his friend. Absolutely great scene, great story. Everything about this was fucking awesome. I love this part. So we go back to everything kind of tearing itself down in this place. Now, remember, Zach thinks his wife or fiance is cheating on him. Okay. So he finally does get a call that his wife is cheating on him and the guy has pictures. Okay. So we go through and Marquise they're talking about all this shit right in front of Marquise. Now, he is relentless and he is just like basically the first thing he tells him is you had to have done something really shitty, kind of like, karma. You had to have done something really shitty for this to happen to you. That's basically what he was saying. Karma's a fucked up thing, and obviously it's got you. Then, after that, this is the line that really gets the tension going is they calm him down because Zach went after Marquise once. After they calm him down, Marquise is like, look, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make any. I was just trying to make light of the situation and, just kind of figure out what would cause another man's jizz all over his fiance's tits. And boom, Zach goes right after him. Starts beating the hell out of him. This is where these guys find out that he is wired. Basically, they knock him down and the wire comes out of his shirt. And they find out Marquise is wired. Okay? So things are really breaking down at this point. Zach decides to call one of his friends from the Treasury Department. They're thinking of turning themselves in right here, right now. But they don't. Because Eddie walks in with Jackie Earle Haley. So they start telling Eddie, oh, he's an informant. And they're like, yeah, we know. So they knew what was happening. Okay. So this is what happens. Eddie Lovato, Travolta says, I don't need him around anymore. And here's what I need you guys to do. So none of you talk about what happened here tonight. I need each one of you to put a bullet in Marquise. Kill him. If everyone's an accessory to murder, no one will fucking say anything. Well, as they're arguing back and forth, Chris Abbott's character, why can't I remember that fucking character name? God damn it, give me a second. Warren just picks up the gun and fires 3 into him. So he's dead, but the rest still have to do it. So that's gone. We go about a little bit later into the movie. And this is where we find out the ending. Okay. It cuts to 3 hours later, and we see Noah meeting with Demetrius Fleming. Okay. The rival mob boss and Marquis' uncle. So it turns out that call was actually Noah that he got, telling him what was going on, and they had proof. And the proof is, by the way, Jerry and Little Mike did find Tyrone, and the proof they gave Tyrone was Marquis on tape. We also find out that, Jesus Christ, Noah and Bryce served in the military together. They have the same tattoos. And we also find out that Bryce is an FBI agent. And he's the one that knew that Marquise was the rat. So between Bryce and Noah, these are the two that put this whole thing into plan just to get the $2 million offer or whatever the reward was. And they split it up a third, and a third between Noah, Eddie, and Bryce. Now, this is a smooth scene, and I love the way they do this, because we see Noah. This is where you get a little montage. And the montage here is Noah setting up this whole thing. And it's not this, it doesn't even look like the same Noah. His hair is straight, slicked back, got a little goatee going on, and it doesn't even look like the same guy. And we find out that Noah was pretty much the whole reason this all happened. Not only that, Zach gets the pictures as he's packing up his office, and Noah was the one fucking his fiance. So this movie ends with basically a Kaiser Soze, and this does remind you a little bit of Usual Suspects. This Kaiser Soze ending, and Noah and Zach's fiance riding off in the Range Rover that Zach pays for. Great movie, but I will say a lot of this movie's very dialogue heavy. But that's good, because it kind of, again, that's where you get a little bit of that Reservoir Dogs, a little bit of that Suicide Kings, a little bit of that Tarantino feel going on in it. So this is really just a fun fucking movie. This is one of those movies I'll just put on just to watch, like in the background, because it's so fast paced. There's so much dialogue. You can listen to what's going on. And I mean, if you've watched it more than once, you can literally just almost see the scenes as you're listening to it. But it's a great, great movie. And again, and by the way, if you're wondering what it's rated, it's not. It's a not rated movie. It's kind of an indie movie. But this is definitely one of the fun movies to watch. Again, I like that you don't know anything about the twist until you get to the end, and then it tells you everything you've been wondering throughout the movie. I love that. I like the characters. I love the casting. I hate Travolta's wig in this movie. It's all right. Took it off after a while. Now, last thing. If you're wondering where you can watch Criminal Activities, it's free right now on the Roku channel. It's free on Philo. If you have an AMC Plus subscription, you can watch it. YouTube Primetime subscription, you can watch it. Amazon Prime Video, if you got a subscription, you can watch it. Google Play, And Fandango, it's $2.99 on both of those, $3.99 to rent from Apple TV. So if you do want to watch this, and hopefully after I talked about this, you do want to watch this movie, and I promise you it's definitely a movie worth checking out. That's where you can watch it. That is where you can watch it. And to be honest with you guys, if I ever put out a movie and or ever do a review and you're like, where can I watch this? If you really want it, send me an email. I'll get it to you. I'll get you the movie. But there you go. That is Criminal Activities, the 2015 movie. Great movie. A fun, kind of twisty, turny movie to watch. And again, I said all this at the beginning of the show. I'm not going to repeat myself, but I love this movie, and I hope you guys will watch it after hearing me talk about it. So, anyway, thanks to you guys in the chat for hanging with me tonight. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I actually spent a little more time on this movie than I thought I would. Oh, excuse me. But it's a really, Jesus. But it's a really fun watch, and it really moves quickly. And it's an hour and 34 minutes. The movie's over before you know it. So definitely check out Criminal Activities from 2015. Definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. Definitely come on back next week. Listen live Thursday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Hollywood Hangout. And on that note, folks, he's going to go watch Samurai Cop True North. I've never seen it. But anyway, you guys take care out there. Everybody else, take care, stay safe, and I will see you next time.